Hey, superfans, this is George Newbern, Superman from the DC Animated Universe, and you're listening to Comic Book Central, where comic books come to life.
Welcome one and all to Comic Book Central, where comic books come to life, the world's first podcast devoted exclusively to in-depth interviews with the talented folks who bring comics to life in film, television, animation, video games, podcasts, and beyond. I am your host, Joe Stuber. Thank you so much for joining me here in the lair today for my look back at my adventure to FanExpo Cleveland. Yeah, the comic book and pop culture convention makes numerous stops around the U.S. and Canada. Here in the Buckeye State, Cleveland, Ohio is the stop for FanExpo, and for the past several years, I have taken the show a tad north of my Columbus home base. Always enjoy my time in Cleveland, and I walk the showroom floor asking questions of the celebrities and comics creators that are there, and I try to bring you a bit of that energy right from the convention to Comic Book Central. I chatted with a few folks when I was at FanExpo. I'm going to bring you those interviews over the next couple of episodes. We're going to do a two-parter here, a lot for you to enjoy. But if you want to enjoy the show in person, that's the best way to do it. Whether it's in Cleveland, Ohio, or any of the other locations FanExpo frequents, you are going to want to check out the website, fanexpohq.com. There you will find information for all of their upcoming shows. There are a bunch of them out there. I'm going to put the link to their website in the show notes for this episode of my website. That would be comicbookcentral.net. In fact, links to a lot of what you're going to be hearing about today can be found in the show notes for this episode at the website comicbookcentral.net. Handy dandy right there, so you have all the info in one place. Couldn't make it easier for you. All right, lots to get to today. Right, first up at FanExpo Cleveland, a trip back in time to the 1991 Steven Spielberg adventure Hook. I got a chance to meet up with actor Dante Basco, who played Rufio in the film. That character was the leader of the Lost Boys. Oh, such a fun adventure. Got to reminisce with Dante about working with Spielberg, of course, Robin Williams, and believe it or not, we even got to chat about breakdancing of all things.
What's up, Joe?
Did I get this right? You started out as a street performer breakdancing?
That is correct, Joe. I was in a street breakdancing group with my brothers called the Street Freaks. And
Street Freaks?
The Street Freaks. King of the Street.
Whoa, how freaky were the Street Freaks?
We were good. We were a very popular group in the Bay Area in the early 80s, the pioneering days of hip-hop.
Okay.
We're the Street Freaks. I, personally, was popping fresh.
Nice. Cardboard on the street.
Boombox hat out.
Did you have a signature move? What are we talking about?
I had a lot of moves. I was a utility dude. Where I can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
But my signature move was the head spin. I actually busted out 100 head spins in a battle one time. It's very legendary. I did 100 head spins in a battle.
So this is you on your head.
On my head
spinning around and 100 revolutions.
100 revolutions.
Wow.
During a battle.
Yeah.
During an actual battle.
How bad were you at? What kind of shape were you?
I was all right. This is the thing. I talk about this era of hip-hop. I still consider myself a hip-hop artist this day. But, there was an era where we all had breakdancing names. And I was popping fresh. So it's interesting when I meet other cats around my age that grew up in the pioneering days of hip-hop. Right. We were all B-boys, and everyone got a breakdance. Everyone has a breakdance.
Can you still do it?
I can still get down.
All right. It's probably getting a little bit tougher these days.
Yeah, definitely a little bit tougher.
I was going to talk about getting the role of Rufio. Like, how did that come about? Do you remember getting the call? Do you remember the audition process?
Oh, yeah. I remember very vividly. It was very interesting because I only auditioned for the thing one time.
Wow.
They shot me and we did it, and then I ended up meeting Spielberg, and then when I met him, we just talked, and I didn't even read it again, and it was very weird. I thought I didn't get the role because my mom was like, how'd the audition go? I was like, I didn't even read. And then they offered me the role, and I remember being on the set months later, and I was like, I asked Steven, how did that happen? I never had an audition like that. And he said, Dante, I watched your tape when they recorded you, and he told me out of all the kids they auditioned, at that time. He said, we saw hundreds of kids. I don't know, a lot of kids. And you're the only kid that scared me. That's what he said to me.
And that's perfect for that.
Yeah.
But you were familiar with Spielberg at the time, right? I mean, I guess you're a huge fan. I mean, like you had seen the movies and stuff. He was it.
He's a god.
Yeah.
He's one of the gods.
Working with Robin Williams, what was your, I mean, a very different role for him, too, at this point, but what was your experience with him, just even between takes, just on the set, hanging around?
He was amazing. I mean, he's one of the greatest to ever do it. Robin was just one of the sweetest, most kind mentors in my life, especially at that time. Dead Poet Society was one of my favorite movies. Coming into, I've been a fan of him since Mork and Mindy.
Yeah.
The World According to Garp, Moscow on the Hudson. I go on.
Did you fanboy out with it? Like, did you do some nanus there? Or did anybody do that, or was he?
Well, yeah, a little bit. Well, the thing is, I mean, I'm 15. I'm in high school. Dead Poet Society is a very big film for me.
Okay.
So much so that me and my brothers and our crew in our neighborhood, we're from like a blue collar, like right outside of Compton. We live in Paramount. We created our own Dead Poet Society.
Wow. Okay.
And in the garage of our house, and the kids in the neighborhood that we're hip hop kids, like Hip Hop Dead Poet Society. We'd write poems and write rhymes and go to the beach in the middle of the night, baptize ourselves, howl at the moon. Like, that movie was very big to us. And so he was just fascinated by, like, wow, these kids from the neighborhood, like, really created their own Dead Poet Society. And he was just a big supporter of me writing poetry and just being, about that. And I ended up creating a poetry venue in my living room.
Oh, wow. Full on, man.
Yeah, that poetry lounge was originally called DPL, Dante's Poetry Lounge. It's become DPL, The Poetry Lounge. Still is the Poetry Lounge. So that Poetry Lounge has grown. It became the inspiration, which became Def Poetry Jam on HBO, which went to Broadway and won a Tony. Oh, wow. And still goes up. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary a few years ago, and it's the largest weekly open mic venue in the country. Man. And I attribute some of that to the magic of Robin Williams.
Do you have a favorite memory of filming?
Maybe my death scene, working with Dustin Hoffman, who's also another guy, one of my biggest heroes, and working with him and him stabbing me and killing me and kind of becoming my acting coach for that whole time. It was really remarkable to get to work with your heroes and then for them to take you in under their wing. It was really beautiful.
Is there something they taught you that you still carry with you to this day?
I'm sure it was. There's some things I don't even really know, because I would show up on my days off to just sit by camera and be a sponge and watch them work and just really absorb. Robin Williams improving, Dustin Hoffman doing character work, Steven Spielberg directing. It was like being in the presence of the masters. Yeah.
What do you got going on now? Looks like you got a podcast going on, or what? Okay, what's the podcast? Everybody's got a podcast. What's yours?
This is from Brave the Elements. We won a Webby last year. It's produced by Nickelodeon.
Congratulations.
Avatar Studios. Me and Janet Varney, and we go through Avatar. I also am a filmmaker on top of acting, on the mic and in front of the camera. But also my latest film, The Fabulous Filipino Brothers, premiered at South by Southwest Film Festival. I wrote and directed it. My directorial debut. Okay. Working. Always, just keep working.
We'll look for where can we find the podcast?
You can find the podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. It's available everywhere. Apple, everything.
And this is Braving the Elements. Dante, thank you so much for joining me here on Comic Book Central. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, 2025 is shaping up to be the year of Superman, and what a time to be in the home of the Man of Steel, Cleveland, Ohio. For the rest of today's show, we're going to check in with several guests from various worlds in the Superman universe. First up, the voice of Superman from Justice League and Justice League Unlimited and many other DC animated projects, George Newbern. Now, George is a friend of the show. My in-depth interview with him can be found back on episode 333. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, then after today's show, by all means, go back and check that out. So glad I got to meet up with him in person this time around. Let's check in with actor George Newbern. George Newbern, welcome back to Comic Book Central. The last time we chatted, summer of 2020. Whole different world back then.
Oh, well, I remember it well. What a hell. What a sheer hell.
Can I ask you if I'm assuming things have gotten better over the past 5 years. What have you been up to since we last spoke? I mean, a lot more voiceover work?
Continuing working as an actor on camera, and also continuing to do a little Superman here and there, and some Sephiroth up until like 2 years ago. And then I do a lot of audiobooks. I recorded over 600 audiobooks, so I'm still doing that.
You've recorded over 600?
600 audiobooks.
How is that even possible? Where would you...
It hurts my voice, I'll tell you that.
How many of those have you listened to back over?
0.
Okay.
I listen to... I mean, I do it when I'm doing it, but I just finished a 25-hour book the other day. So,
holy man.
And so for every finished hour, it probably takes me about an hour and a half of butt time, in the seat.
Okay.
But you're also engineering it and, directing yourself and performing it. And so it's a very hard job, I have to
What's the most interesting one you've done that you're like, oh, wow, this is...
there have been so many great ones, but I think my favorite ones actually to do are the nonfiction history ones where I learn history. So I'm actually teaching myself as I go through. Like The British Are Coming was one of my favorites. It was just right, the lead up right to the American Revolution was brilliant. I was fascinated by it.
You got to return as Superman in the video game Multiverses. Yeah, how did that come about, and what was that experience like? Because this is like all the different Warner Brothers characters, Scooby-Doo.
Warner Brothers, I think they might not be doing it anymore, but just up until 6 months ago I did one, and Warner Brothers produces it, and it's a big mashup of a lot of their characters. That video game.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Have you played it?
A little bit
you get to see it?
I've played some of the demos.
It's pretty interesting because all the characters come in. I mean, there's Scooby-Doo. There's a ton of...
Iron Giant.
Iron Giant. Yeah.
It's fun.
This is going to be 2025 shaping up to be a big year for Superman.
Yeah.
Looking back at your time and as it continues to go, how do you view your legacy with the character, and why do you think the character still resonates after 85 plus years?
Well, I think it resonates because the Superman is not a morally ambivalent character. He sort of stands for right and wrong, and I think people still will love to have that in their life. A sort of a barometer, and he's a mythical creature, an iconic. Worldwide, everybody knows who's Superman, no matter what your nationality. So, I just think that he's so important to the stories we tell today that you have a touchstone like Superman. That's why I think he's relevant.
George, have a great time in Cleveland this weekend, and thanks for coming back to Comic Book Central.
Good to talk to you again. Yep.
More Superman goodness, this time headed into the source material, the comic books. The incredible artist Rags Morales was in attendance, and of course I had to stop by his table to talk about his time bringing Superman to life in some of our favorite four-color adventures, including his 2011 reboot of the flagship title Action Comics alongside writer Grant Morrison. Now, quick note on this chat, I do mention the iconic treasury-sized comic Superman vs. Spider-Man here, and Rags is referring to the sequel book Superman and Spider-Man. So just wanted to clear that up when you hear it. So there's that bit of information there. Okay, now here is my conversation with Rags Morales. Welcome to Cleveland.
Thank you.
Has this been your first time here? Or?
Cleveland, yes. I was in Warren, Ohio a few years ago, but this is my second show.
Okay. How's it going so far? We're here on a Saturday, late on a Saturday. How's it been so far?
Been pretty good. You don't do a bad show when you have FanExpo. That's Kevin Boyd's con, and he does a good job.
I got to ask you, going way back, how did the love of comics start?
Well, when I was a kid, I was always drawing, and I can't remember what my first comic book was. I remember I bought a lot of the Treasury Edition comic books, and those very large ones.
Yes. I've gone back and repurchased almost all of mine that I gave away.
Yeah, and
do you have a favorite of the Treasuries? Is it Superman versus Spider-Man? That's always been my favorite.
No, because I didn't think that John Buscema did a good Superman.
Whoa, okay.
I didn't. I thought for some reason it didn't sit well with me. I thought Garcia Lopez, Batman versus the Hulk.
The Hulk.
Yeah, I thought that one was really good. I saw a lot of Saturday morning cartoons as a kid, and I always watched Johnny Weissmuller as Tarzan on Sundays, and I'd watch Prince Valiant, a lot of sword and sandal stuff too.
Okay, so it's more of the superheroes kind of thing. How did you break into the comic book industry? Do you recall the early work?
With a crowbar. I was, with comic books, you have to be patient because they do things so far ahead that when you're ready to get in, they may not have everything available to you. So you have to be persistent. And so, it's never no. The answer is just not now if you're good enough. If they say that they have nothing for you and they're kind of dismissive, people don't hide themselves well. Then you'll know that you just don't think that that you're good enough, or if they tell you you're a year or two away, that's good. That's a good sign. But yeah, just keep don't quit your day job, and you get in there, and you get one eventually, and that's how I got in with TSR and DC. They were collaborating, and I did a comic called Forgotten Realms, and
that's what I wanted to ask you about. What was that like when you first got that, and what was the best piece of advice you got leading up to that from the experts, from the comics creators?
Well, Joe Kubert was fond of saying that if you want to do something with your life and someone says no and you quit, well, then they're right. So that was probably the best, most important thing, and something that I used when I started teaching as well. But yeah, that's that's basically it. If it's your passion, yeah, keep going. Something's going to break. It's like breaking a stone with a sledgehammer. Eventually, it's going to give.
If you give up, the answer is always no. So that's a lock and load.
There you go.
Teaming up. Our first, before I get to Action Comics, how important was taking on Identity Crisis? That whole era.
I was lucky. I was supposed to get Rebirth. I was supposed to get Green Lantern.
Okay.
But I was faster than Ethan, and they needed Identity Crisis out first.
Okay. So it was a matter of deadlines.
It was that was their thinking, and Peter Tomasi really pushed for me. They had other artists in mind, but for me it worked out beautifully. And it was a heck of a series. I really enjoyed doing it.
I pulled my Action Comics 1 out of my lawn box this weekend to come in here. A very different take on Superman. What were your thoughts going into that when you saw this isn't your typical Superman? This isn't your daddy's Superman coming in.
It is your daddy's Superman. It's also your granddaddy's Superman. That's the problem. Superman over 78 years to the point had to be outdone by the next technology. So in order to beat Superman, the next technology had to be better. Then he had to beat that technology, and then next thing you know, it's going up and up and up and up, and before you know it, he's so powerful he's pushing planets back into orbit, which I thought was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I really didn't like him being married, because to me, that's how if you want to take the teeth away from someone who's a warrior, make them domesticated. And I got tired.
Always the TV shows when they'd always bring the baby into the show or something. That always was the death knell of most TV shows. Yeah.
And with Superman, look, 78 years. Well, at that point, I think it's like 50 years of stories. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So I get it. I get the impulse. It's just that, Jerry Siegel never wanted them to be married or even dating. That was never the intent. So for the Superman, what we did is that we brought him back to what he was supposed to be.
Stripped down. Okay.
I don't even like the fact that he's flying.
Yeah.
I liked him better when he was leaping and bounding. I thought to me that was more appropriate. I like it better when he gets hurt with bullets or hit by a train and he says, ouch. Yes, that's how it's supposed to be. That's what
kind of humanizes it.
Yeah, it made him, because he can do things that you couldn't. But now it got to the point where he just kind of he's very cocky about it. You can't relate to that. So I like the Superman that we did. I mixed Max Fleischer mm-hmm. cartoons. I mixed it with Lil Abner.
Oh wow! Okay.
And
I see it. Yeah, I see it.
And a young Elvis.
Okay. As we're looking, I'm seeing all of those things now. I'm going to read this comic in a whole new way. Is this one of your favorite projects that you've worked on?
Yeah, because I like the fact that we fixed them. We brought it back to what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
and we reinvigorated, and the fans, they really responded. They understood that that's his core essence, and that bringing him back was something that they actually had been missing. They didn't even realize that they had missed it. So,
what's next for you? What's next on the horizon? That we can look for?
I'm working on it's not been announced yet. So I shouldn't even be announcing it. But
that's okay. I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
That's okay. I'll be working on Nexus with Mike Barron.
Okay, we can say that?
You can say I said it.
You can say you said it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And when can we expect to see that?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, you're fast. We've established that you're fast.
Almost faster than Ethan. It doesn't make me fast.
And how can fans find out more about your website? Where do we go to get commissions? Where do we go to?
Well, you could find me on Facebook at Method Mastery. That's my agency. I'm also Rags Morales art page on Facebook. I'm also on Tumblr, ragsagainstthemachine.net. That's my basic website, but I have to come up with my own.
Okay.
And Rags and Hashtags on Instagram.
And fans can go on and order commissions, and then they meet you at the cons, and you'll have them there for you?
You can get in touch with my agent. That's Heather Miles, and she's at Method Mastery, and she handles all my business.
Perfect. Rags, thanks so much. Enjoy Cleveland. Enjoy the weekend, and thanks for joining me on Comic Book Central.
Sure thing.
All right, folks, got a bit of breaking news right there. He's going to be working on Nexus with series creator Mike Barron. You can follow that upcoming adventure and when it's going to premiere on all of the socials and the links you heard right there from Rags himself. I'm going to put the link to his website in the show notes for this episode at my website, comicbookcentral.net. You go there, all the socials he mentioned, there's links to there, all on top of his website on the homepage right there. So I do want to mention, in that chat, Rags referenced Superman creator Jerry Siegel, who, of course, along with artist Joe Shuster, created Superman back in 1938 in Cleveland, Ohio. Well, when you're in the home of Superman, you got to talk with the fine folks at the Siegel and Shuster Society. They keep the Superman home flame burning year in, year out. Last year at this time, they made a major announcement about the ongoing efforts to bring the Superman statue to downtown Cleveland. We have got an update. So let's check in with Gary Kaplan and Lee Goldie from the Siegel and Shuster Society. We talked about the Siegel Shuster Tribute Plaza before on the show, but for new listeners, if somebody's checking in, can you kind of give us just an overall assessment of what this actually is, what we're talking about?
Yeah, this is the Siegel and Shuster Superman Plaza. It's going to be at the corner of Ontario and St. Clair in downtown Cleveland, and it's going to consist of three parts. There's an 18-foot pylon pillar that's going to hold a little bit over 9-foot stainless steel Superman, and then there is, across the way, there is a phone booth, which I hopefully don't have to explain to you. And then there are three bronze statues, one of Jerry Siegel, the writer who created Superman, Joe Shuster, my cousin, the artist that created Superman, and Joanne Siegel, the first model for Lois Lane. And
Gary, if you can kind of give us an idea of when this idea originally occurred, because the statues, or at least the original versions of them, have been around a little while. They were over at the library and different things like that. So when did this idea sort of originate, and give us a little bit of the progress as you've gone on through the years?
Oh, it's been at least 15 years. It was a vision of sculptor David Deming. His vision to honor both Superman and his creators. And so he's been wanting to do that. He originally partnered with the Siegel and Shuster Society before I was a member. Of course, Lee's a founding member, so she knows a little more about that. But the location we had kind of fell apart, and it wasn't available, so the idea went dormant. And so we renewed our relationship with David Deming about a year and a half ago or so, and we were working steadily. And of course, the process of finding a location, which the Cuyahoga County was very helpful. We've got a great location.
Tell folks again where this is.
So this
right where we're standing.
It's right. It's the Huntington Convention Center here in Cleveland, and the newly expanded section, which contains a very large ballroom. It's a 20,000 square foot ballroom. It'll be right outside that. The landscaping is already in there. We just have to install the statues, and the statues are done. I mean, they're in the foundries. They've been cast in stainless steel for Superman and bronze for the creators. And we're 70% with our fundraising. We need to get the other 30%.
I was going to say, what for folks listening out there, so you have a GoFundMe page. We'll have the link there for people to do that. But I know the license plates, the Superman Ohio license plates. So I've got one. I'm proud to have that on my car. You got a nice little Superman border around it. But that money I think you mentioned, goes to.
Yeah, we've been collecting that money since the license plates came out 2016. I might have the year wrong. Forgive me.
2012.
So
2012. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, we've collected it ever since, and that money was the seed money that we used. Wow. Because, again, we're an all-volunteer organization. We do not get paid for this. Right. And so all of that money that people around the state of Ohio have donated because they purchased a license plate is going directly toward the Superman Tribute Plaza. Okay. And so we're really excited about that. And then, we are just asking for people to help donate for this. And we've opened the campaign in June of 2024, and we are still trying to bring Superman home. So we're hoping that people are willing to donate. And
so you mentioned 70%. You're 70% of the way there. The 30%, then, what would you say that's work? So the statues they're somewhere, they're in bubble wrap or whatever you do with statues, right? Or they're in cases. They're sitting there somewhere, ready to be placed. So what's the next 30%, and how do we get over that goal?
So we still need $660,000. It was originally a $2.2 million price tag. And so, we need people from all over, comic book fans, people from Ohio. Every donation helps. It would be great to have some corporate help, too. Yeah. We're working on that.
And this is to actually install the statues where they need to be, right? Because you've got to get workers to come out and lift these things up and get the foundation and
dig. There's going to be a crane.
Big machines those cost money, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. But we have to finish paying for the statues, too.
Right.
So it's a combination of the expenses.
Okay. Yeah, because Superman ain't cheap. I mean, he's there to help everybody, but building tributes to him.
With their finances,
That's right. He's just right.
But can I just talk about the impact that this will have on our city?
That's what I want to get to, too, because Cleveland should be and is in many areas synonymous with Superman, but maybe not to the level that it can be, right?
Right. I mean, Superman is spoken in every single language on every single continent. Yeah. If I say the word Superman, everybody knows who it is, and the only people who are going to go against Superman are villains. So this is
like the third most popular, isn't it? Like Mickey Mouse,
like Tarzan,
Superman, right?
Yeah, and so. If we can create this in Cleveland, so many people will come to our lovely city just to see the Superman tribute, the Superman Plaza. Right. And so any help that we can get to make this happen, I understand that people need to see it in order to understand it, but I promise A plus B will equal C. It will equal people coming to Cleveland and making Cleveland, putting Cleveland on the map for something else important throughout the world.
Right. Well, right now you have the two houses where the gents grew up and created Superman, and you've got I think we talked about the library exhibit before. It's now on the second floor and things like that. But when this 2025 is going to be a huge year for Superman, so with the movie and people coming out and parts of it were filmed right here in Cleveland, people are going to want to see something. So how much of a push is it to get this thing done before the movie premieres? Because the clock is definitely ticking.
I'm working 7 days a week on it.
Do you guys sleep at all, or
not much?
Not that much last night, no.
All right.
But I mean, we're getting a lot of donations, especially in recent days. We're getting closer, but we need people to spread the word. Yeah. And of course, you're doing that for us. So thank you very much. Getting the word out, and the more people that know, the more likely we're going to have a statue unveiling, and then before spring is over.
Yeah. What's your dream goal? In a perfect world, what is going to happen this summer? What would you say?
Oh, the unveiling is happening. We're going to have thousands of people here to celebrate this, because all we're going to say is come and help us welcome Superman to Cleveland as we unveil this tribute, or this Superman Plaza.
Any word from James Gunn? Any word from David Cornswell? Any word from any of the cast? Can you tease anything? Do we know?
I'm not going to mention the person's name. Okay. He's not on our board.
Emails are going out.
He has reached out to James Gunn and some other people that are,
We're trying.
Field, yes.
We're trying.
I will say on my end, I'm also doing emails. I'm hoping there's going to be a premiere here in Cleveland. That would be so cool to have a sort of a red carpet premiere.
Exactly.
An unveiling of the statue. What do you want to tell folks out there as we wrap up?
Help us bring Superman home to Cleveland.
Please support us. Again, we're all volunteer. We just want your help to make this, to celebrate this cultural icon right here. And anybody who visits like the Huntington Convention Center will get to see it. It's going to be monumental, literally and figuratively.
You guys are doing great work. Keep it up. And we're looking forward to this in the next few months. I hope to get back to Cleveland in the next few months and see this thing unveiled. That's going to be nice.
Thank you so much.
SiegelAndSchuster.com. That is where you want to be to find out the latest and greatest and superest info on Superman in Cleveland. And there's a donate button right there on the homepage. So you go there, give whatever you can to make the Superman statue in Cleveland a reality. If you are a Superman fan, what better way to be a part of the legacy of Superman than this project right in his hometown of Cleveland, Ohio? You can make a difference. You can be a part of all of it. I'm going to put that link to their website in the show notes, of course, for this episode at comicbookcentral.net. So you're going to check it out, give. It truly is a super cause. And I am so hoping that everything goes well. And I hope to make a return trip to Cleveland this summer to see the unveiling of the statue and maybe another super event. Let's all keep a good thought about that. All right, kids, that is it for today. That is part one of my visit to FanExpo Cleveland, but you know part two is coming right at you because next time on Comic Book Central, how's about we switch gears over to the Marvel side of things with X-Men, the animated series, and X-Men 97. You're going to hear from the voice behind Dr. Hank McCoy, a.k.a. Beast. George Buza will be here. X-Men, the animated series producer Larry Houston, he's going to join us, and a little bit of extra. Got some extra celebrities coming in from Road Trip, Comic Book Villains, The Big Bang Theory, so much more. Actor G.J. Qualls, he's going to drop by. And you're going to get a preview of upcoming Fan Expo events. You do not want to miss the thrilling conclusion of my adventure at Fan Expo Cleveland. That's what's coming at you very soon. Until then, keep safe, keep reading those comics. And thanks for joining me here in the lair. Comic Book Central, where comic books come to life. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Comic Book Central. All the content and names are registered trademarks and copyrights of their respective holders.